I was working on the fence by the south pasture when I heard tires crunching on the gravel drive. It was early, too early for visitors, and the sound instantly put me on edge. Around here, visitors don't just drop by, especially not in the morning. I set down my hammer, wiped my hands on my jeans, and looked up to see two sheriff's cruisers rolling down the drive like they owned the place. That alone was strange. Law enforcement doesn't typically show up unannounced unless something serious has gone down. I walked slowly toward the gate, half expecting them to ask about a lost hiker or a loose animal. But when both deputies stepped out of their cars, one of them holding a clipboard, I knew it wasn't casual. "Morning," one of them said, real formal-like. "Are you the owner of this property?" I nodded. "Sure am. Something wrong?" He didn't smile. "We've received multiple reports of violations. Are you aware that you're currently in breach of several HOA regulations?" I almost laughed. I genuinely thought I misheard him. "What HOA?" I asked. "Sir," the deputy continued, glancing at the clipboard, "this report states that your property contains unauthorized structures, visible storage of machinery, and livestock that's not permitted by covenant guidelines. These are enforceable by the Meadow Valley HOA. Now I did laugh. Meadow Valley? That's a gated community over a mile from here. I'm not in any HOA, never have been. The two deputies exchanged looks, clearly thrown off. One of them tried to clarify. "You sure? The complaint came with coordinates and a name, yours." "I'm sure," I said, growing irritated. "I bought this land 3 years ago, and the first thing I made sure of was that there was no HOA attached. I've got 15 acres here, zoned agricultural by the county. No covenants, no boards, no dues, and certainly no HOA. Still, they didn't back off. One of them started poking around the property line, eyeing my old John Deere tractor like it was a meth lab. The other asked, "Do you have documentation of the zoning?" At that point, I realized what was really going on. Whoever had filed the complaint wasn't just misinformed, they were trying to cause trouble, and these deputies, rather than verify anything, had come out assuming I was in the wrong. That rubbed me the wrong way. I told them they were welcome to wait on the porch while I brought out a copy of the county zoning map and my property deed, both clearly stating I was not under any HOA jurisdiction. While I went inside, I noticed one of them radioing something in like I was a suspect in a crime. I returned with the documents, laid them on a table on the porch, and watched their posture shift as they skimmed the papers. The zoning code AGX was printed right there, bold and clear. Agricultural exempt. No HOA. No development regulations. Just freedom. The deputy with the clipboard looked uncomfortable. "Looks like there may have been a mistake." "Yeah," I said, crossing my arms. "The mistake was showing up here without checking first. You scared my horses. Next time, maybe do your homework before rolling onto someone's land accusing them of violating imaginary rules." They didn't apologize. They just mumbled something about following up and confirming with the HOA, then left in a cloud of dust. I stood there watching them drive off, heart still pounding, not because I'd done anything wrong, but because someone out there had gone out of their way to sick the law on me. I wasn't part of their neighborhood. I wasn't under their control. But someone, some self-important busybody, wanted to act like I was. And I had a feeling they weren't done yet. The moment the cruisers disappeared down the road, I went straight inside and fired up my laptop. I wasn't about to sit around and wait for the next surprise visit. Something wasn't adding up, and I needed answers, fast. First, I pulled up the county assessor's website. That's where you can look up parcels, boundaries, zoning designations, and even see which properties are tied to an HOA. I typed in my parcel number and waited. There it was, exactly as I expected. My land was listed as agricultural exempt, with no attached HOA, no covenants, no restrictions. Just me, my soil, and my freedom. But I didn't stop there. I started looking into the Meadow Valley HOA, the one the deputies had mentioned. Turns out Meadow Valley was a relatively new development about 1.5 miles west of my ranch. Big gates, perfectly trimmed hedges, all the houses looking like they came out of the same blueprint. I remember seeing their signs during construction, a couple years back, promising luxury living in a controlled environment. I didn't think much of it at the time. Let people pay to live in their bubble if that's what they wanted. But what I didn't know was that their HOA president was a guy named Martin Greaves, former lawyer, moved in from California, and according to the HOA's own meeting minutes, posted on their website publicly, he'd been trying to extend influence to surrounding properties for over a year. That phrase jumped off the page at me. Extend influence. What kind of HOA thinks they can influence land they don't own? As I read deeper, I found that Martin had been lobbying the county commission to expand the HOA boundaries to include properties within visual proximity to Meadow Valley. He'd complained about unsightly barns, non-standard fencing, and get this, the disruptive aesthetic of older agricultural equipment. He was clearly talking about people like me, folks who actually worked their land instead of posing next to it for Instagram. Every one of his requests had been denied. The county had no interest in extending HOA powers to people who hadn't agreed to them. Still, Martin didn't give up. From what I could gather, he started taking matters into his own hands, filing complaints, making calls, and misrepresenting the situation to people in power. That explained the deputies. I found a public record of a complaint submitted to the sheriff's office with my name, address, and GPS coordinates. The description was full of legal-sounding nonsense like exterior code violations, non-compliant, structures within HOA impact zone, and livestock density irregularities. I read it twice. There is no such thing as an HOA impact zone. It's a made-up term. But it looked official enough that maybe someone behind a desk didn't question it. Now I was angry. This man had falsely reported me to law enforcement and wasted public resources to satisfy his personal crusade. Worse, he was trying to use HOA authority like a weapon, beyond the boundaries where it even applied. So I decided to fight fire with fire. I printed out everything. The zoning documents, the plat maps, the meeting minutes, the bogus complaint. I filed an official complaint of my own, against him. I also contacted the county commissioner's office, who agreed to review the matter. Then I made one more move. I contacted a local reporter who specialized in covering property rights issues. I sent her all the documentation and told her the whole story. She responded the next morning. "Are you willing to go on record? This might be bigger than you think." I was ready. If Martin Greaves wanted a battle, he just picked a fight with the wrong rancher.